You always get everything. That was my sister Vera's signature line. My favorite toys, my precious dolls, everything was either taken away or destroyed after she uttered those words. She would lie to cut off my relationships with close friends, manipulate situations by crying to make me look like the bad person, and cause scenes that inconvenienced others. Her misdeeds were countless. If things didn't go her way, she would destroy things and lash out at everyone around her. Because of this, our parents only forced me to be patient and never really tried to correct Vera's behavior. I think that's part of what encouraged Vera's nature. Vera seems desperate to look down on me and bask in a sense of superiority. I can sense her obsession with this desire. She even went so far as to move her living situation close to mine just for that purpose. It's not fair that you get to marry such a wonderful man. Vera's signature move was unleashed on my husband, who was a doctor. During my absence, she had an affair with my husband, lied to make me look like the villain, and found satisfaction in taking him away from me. It was the same old pattern she'd always used, but what hurt most was that my husband betrayed me by believing Vera over me. I ultimately chose to get divorced. I had quit my job and was living at a distance from Vera when, about a year after the divorce, I got a phone call from Vera. I had a baby. So come over with a gift to celebrate. Sure, I'll come with my lawyer husband. What? A lawyer? Vera hasn't changed at all. She still tries to look down on me and gain satisfaction from feeling superior. She probably wouldn't hesitate to hurt anyone to achieve that. I absolutely cannot forgive that. That's why I need to make sure this never happens again by teaching her a lesson. Filing for damages is my right. I'm Nicole, 32 years old, and I work as a nurse in the internal medicine ward of a general hospital. I've been working here for about 10 years after attending this hospital's affiliated university, originally to have my scholarship loans forgiven. The loan forgiveness period has ended, so I don't absolutely have to work at this hospital anymore, and I'm starting to think about changing jobs. That's because my sister Vera has started working at the same hospital as a medical clerk. Vera is 28, 4 years younger than me. She's always had this personality where she'll do anything to feel superior to me, and she's been unwavering in this since she was little. You always get everything was Vera's signature line. All my dolls and toys were either taken away or destroyed by Vera. Furthermore, once she understood she could win adults over by crying, she would immediately cry to make me look like the bad person. Vera has a lovable appearance, so she can sometimes appear weaker than me, which works in her favor. Her lying was also an everyday occurrence, and situations where others would believe her lies and make me look bad seemed to be her most preferred scenarios. It wasn't just once or twice that people who were close to me believed Vera's lies and distanced themselves from me. Her lies seem very skillful, as many people fall for them completely. From my perspective, knowing the truth, even things that are clearly lies seem to be believed by people who hear Vera's words. If Vera had become a con artist, she might have become a terrible criminal. I should probably be grateful she got a legitimate job. However, sometimes Vera's plans would fail, and her lies would be exposed to our parents or my friends. When she judged that things weren't going her way, Vera would become nothing but a tyrant. The moment she decided our parents were taking my side, she would cry hysterically, rampage around the house, throwing and breaking things. After this pattern repeated itself, our exhausted parents started telling me to just be patient. While it was probably a strategy to prevent Vera from rampaging, I couldn't understand why I was the only one forced to be patient and comply with Vera's selfishness. So honestly, I still can't think positively about our parents. It was also terrible when my friend tried to discipline Vera. This happened when I was in ninth grade. A friend who had noticed Vera's true nature confronted her directly, saying, "You're old enough to know better now, aren't you? Stop with the lying and crying to get your way." My friend only said what was absolutely reasonable and didn't even scold her harshly. But it must have been extremely unpleasant for Vera, because later she suddenly visited my friend's house and created a scene by crying loudly and sitting down at the entrance, saying, "I was wrong, so please stop. I won't talk to my sister or you ever again, please." Of course, the neighbors could hear, and if my friend tried to encourage Vera to stand up by touching her arm, she would cry out, "Ouch! Stop," making such a commotion that the police had to be called. When the police got involved, Vera must have realized things had gone too far, as she seemed to calm down at the scene, but since Vera was in 6th grade at the time, our parents received a stern warning from the police. When things didn't go her way, Vera continued to rampage without listening to our parents, and somehow I ended up being scolded by them with, "Don't provoke Vera." I just felt terribly sorry for causing trouble for my friend. I had several friends who knew Vera's true nature, and they always encouraged me. I think it was because of them that I was able to survive in that house. So anyway, I decided to take action to distance myself from Vera. The top priority for maintaining distance was leaving home. I chose this hospital's affiliated university, which was far from home, convinced my parents by saying I would take out a scholarship that effectively wouldn't need to be repaid, and succeeded in moving away from home into a dormitory by saying I would be busy with practical training and studying. Since then, I've hardly ever returned home. While I was living a busy but fulfilling life like this, Vera ended up working at this hospital. She came all the way to the nurses' station saying, "I'm so happy I can work with you," but the nurses, who know well how women's society works, weren't fooled by such things, and because they found it suspicious, I got the opportunity to explain my relationship with Vera, and it was arranged so that I wouldn't have to have much contact with the administrative department. I was grateful for that. Anyway, I don't want to have anything to do with Vera. I don't know what might happen if I interact with her, and I don't want her to know about my work or private life. That's why I'm now seriously starting to think about changing jobs. Nicole, are you sure you don't want to have a wedding ceremony? While we were having a relaxed meal at home, my husband Kelvin asked from across the dining table. Yes, I'm not really interested. You have such a nice figure, you'd look good in a dress. I don't want to stand out. I married Kelvin last month. After dating for about half a year, I accepted his proposal and we immediately registered our marriage. Kelvin was a doctor in the same internal medicine ward, and with his refreshing smile and gentle manner, he was popular with patients and had a good reputation among nurses for his soft demeanor. Of course, I had liked him for a while too, so when he asked me to date him, I got a bit carried away. Is your not wanting to stand out related to your sister? I had told Kelvin everything about my history with Vera when we got married. I wanted to avoid contact with her as much as possible. I didn't want her to know about our marriage. I didn't want Kelvin to have contact with Vera. Because you never know what might happen. Although Kelvin listened to my story, he didn't seem to quite get it. He has an older sister and brother himself and gets along very well with them, so he probably can't understand a relationship like mine with Vera. But since we work at the same place, don't you think we should tell your sister? We don't need to tell her, really. She's your sister, I think she'd be happy for us. I only thought in my heart that if Vera knew about my marriage, she would happily start plotting something. That's why I decided not to have a wedding ceremony. As for announcing the marriage, I only met with my parents outside and told them, asking them not to tell Vera. Since my parents understand Vera's personality, they probably won't say anything. When I met with them, they told me that Vera had tried to get into the same university as me but couldn't because her grades weren't good enough, and now that she's managed to get into the same hospital, my parents were somewhat worried, though their true feelings of not wanting to be involved with Vera anymore were also apparent. My parents must be relieved that Vera started living alone and left home to work at this hospital. At work, we use separate surnames and don't wear rings, and we haven't particularly announced our marriage, so many people probably don't know. Since it's a fairly large hospital and people often don't recognize staff they don't have contact with, it probably won't come up in gossip. So I'd prefer if Vera remained unaware of my marriage. This is also to protect Kelvin. That's what I thought, but then I saw Kelvin and Vera talking alone in front of the ward's medical office. Why were these two together? Kelvin came specially to tell me that you two got married. Even though I had said there was no need to tell Vera, even though I had explained what kind of relationship we had, even though Kelvin knew what kind of treatment I had received from my sister. She's such a cute sister, being so happy about it. I'm so glad to have a big brother. I had a bad feeling when I saw Vera gazing at Kelvin. Through my conversations with Kelvin, I had noticed that he seemed to fundamentally believe that since she was a blood-related sister, we could get along well despite some misunderstandings, but I never thought he would do something so unnecessary. Congratulations, really. Let's go out to eat sometime. I'll treat you to celebrate. Vera's smiling face as she said this only looked like a sister happily congratulating her sister. But I've never gone out to eat with Vera, and Vera would never genuinely congratulate me. Even now, she must be secretly angry behind that smile. Still, I don't want to cause a scene at work, and if I were to involve other people, they might become Vera's victims too. I have work to do, so I'm going. I decided to leave this place. Anyway, I don't want to be in the same space as Vera. Please let nothing happen. I whispered in my heart with an almost prayer-like feeling. A few months after marrying Kelvin. Lately, Kelvin has been acting strange. He seems cold, in a bad mood, there's been an ominous feeling. Then suddenly, after my night shift, I received a message from Kelvin on my smartphone. No text, just one photo. The photo showed Kelvin sleeping shirtless in our bedroom, with Vera smiling in his arms. I've been had, that was my first thought. This must be Vera's challenge. She's letting me know that this is happening right now in our house. She probably sent it knowing my shift was about to end. I quickly changed and hurried home at a fast pace. She must still be there. When I arrived home and unlocked the door to enter, Kelvin and Vera were in the living room. Although they were both dressed now, Kelvin was pathetically flustered. What are you trying to do, Vera? While I can predict Vera's actions, I can never understand what she's thinking. I'm half resigned to not understanding this time either, but I want an explanation. It's not fair that only you get to marry such a wonderful man. Vera says this in a sweet voice while pressing her body against Kelvin's arm. Besides, if he was being deceived, I thought Kelvin deserved to know, so I told him. When I heard the word deceived, I instantly understood my bad feeling had been right. Because this had happened countless times before. You've been lying like always, saying I bullied you, right? I keep telling you to stop making yourself look weak like that. Vera lies as if this were the truth. Her quick thinking about these things is terrifying, and she displays Academy Award-worthy acting skills. I never thought you were that kind of person. I feel betrayed, Kelvin says. Not again. In the end, he's just like all the other men. That's my line, I muttered softly, but Kelvin apparently didn't hear. I wonder which of us he thinks was really betrayed. Despite me telling him not to tell my sister, he didn't believe me and believed my sister's lies instead. And then had an affair with my sister when she invited him. You both know what you've done, right? At my words, Kelvin lowered his face guiltily, but Vera was looking at her nails, as if she hadn't heard. This is adultery during marriage, right, Kelvin? Even when I asked this, Kelvin said nothing. Vera, isn't that right? If you mean adultery, then yes. But Kelvin said he likes me better because I'm cuter. When I asked Vera, she gave a clear explanation. She's really a genius when it comes to these kinds of schemes. I'm impressed. Kelvin said he only needs me. When Vera said this, Kelvin looked flustered, but he didn't push away Vera, who was clinging to his arm. I want a divorce. The moment I said this, I didn't miss seeing Vera's mouth twist. This must have been her goal. Her pride couldn't accept that her sister, whom she had looked down on, was married to a doctor. So she took Kelvin away with the same mindset as taking away a toy. Though Kelvin probably doesn't think of it that way. Kelvin, you have work now, right? Come back right after your shift. I'll have you sign the divorce papers. Okay. After that, Kelvin left the house with Vera, and I went to the municipal office to get divorce papers. I'm incredibly angry and hurt by this betrayal, having to deal with this after a night shift when I should be sleeping right now. I often hear that doctors are creatures who cheat, but of all people, with Vera? What saddens and angers me most is that he didn't believe my words and instead believed what Vera said. This time really exhausted my heart more than ever before. While feeling like I might wilt and crumple up, I somehow rallied myself to do what needed to be done. When Kelvin came home that night, I had him sign the divorce papers immediately. I had already filled out all my sections. He tried to say something like "sorry" before writing, but I completely ignored him. Not worth listening to. I checked that there were no missing entries on the documents and snatched away the divorce papers. I'm submitting these first thing tomorrow. I'll finish moving out in 2 weeks, so during that time, you can stay at Vera's place or wherever. I don't want to see your face, and since your affair caused this, it's only natural. You should actually be grateful I'm only taking 2 weeks. Saying this would prevent Kelvin from pushing back too hard, and I could stay in this house alone while preparing my new environment. Now get out. Right now? Of course. Come back in 2 weeks. With Vera if you want. After kicking Kelvin out of the house, I immediately blocked all contact from both Kelvin and Vera. After that, I decided to take a shower and go to bed for now. I'm just exhausted. I should rest my body properly because things will be busy starting tomorrow. I submitted the divorce papers to the municipal office the next morning. After that, I headed to work and informed them I would be resigning. I told HR the whole truth about getting divorced due to my husband Kelvin's affair with my sister Vera, and that the emotional damage was too great for me to stay here. Telling them this much should make them understand, so whatever reputation they develop within the hospital is no longer my concern. And while quickly looking for a new house, I decided to also focus on my hobby. My hobby is bouldering, and I had been exercising at least once a week at the bouldering gym where I'm a member. I might as well enjoy it fully. As I worked up a sweat doing this, my thoughts seemed to clear up, and I started thinking about making them take proper responsibility. Because why not? I'm not at fault at all. There's absolutely no need to just accept this quietly, I'm just exercising my natural rights. First, a lawyer. While thinking about what comes next, I kept grabbing the climbing holds one after another. About a year after the divorce, I received a phone call from my parents' house on my smartphone. Wondering what it could be, I answered, and "Hey, Nicole." What came through was Vera's voice. It had been a year since I'd heard this voice. I had a baby. A super cute boy. Oh, and I got married. So come over with a gift to celebrate. I'm at our parents' house now. Vera rattled on one-sidedly. Since I had blocked contact information for both Kelvin and Vera, she probably couldn't get in touch with me and deliberately used our parents' phone to say this. Having married Kelvin and had a child, she was gleefully trying to hurt me, shamelessly demanding baby gifts. Her behavior made me sigh, seeing that she hadn't changed at all. Though my sigh was accompanied by a slight smirk at the corners of my mouth. Sure, I answered. Really? Well then, I'll have Kelvin come too. Yes. I'll bring my lawyer husband. What? A lawyer? Vera's voice immediately dropped. Vera didn't know that I had remarried, nor that my new husband was a lawyer. How about in about 2 weeks? You're at our parents' house, right? Yes. Mom and Dad are so fond of the baby, they don't want us to leave yet. Vera raised her voice, trying to hide her agitation. She's probably incredibly frustrated to learn that I married a lawyer. Because Vera had thought I was living lonely and alone. I'm looking forward to the celebration gift, Vera said before hanging up. Her usual self-centered attitude hasn't changed. I wonder how long she can keep up that attitude. By the way, it's true that my current husband is a lawyer. His name is Baron. He's 36 years old, and while he's still relatively young as a lawyer, he's very capable. The beginning of my relationship with Baron was when I consulted him about claiming damages for my divorce. Right after my divorce, I visited a law firm known for specializing in divorce cases. Baron was the one who first handled my case. What's more, it turns out Baron and I had been using the same bouldering gym, and while I hadn't noticed, Baron had seen me there before. I was completely surprised to find that the lawyer handling my case shared the same hobby and used the same bouldering gym. Having that in common, and seeing his sincere attitude in handling my consultation as a lawyer, my trust and sense of security in him grew. I've been interested in you for a while, seeing your serious expression and demeanor while climbing, Baron told me, and that led to us dating and eventually getting married after a smooth courtship. Since he knew from the start about things that would normally be most sensitive and problematic, like that this wasn't my first marriage and the circumstances of my divorce, I was able to marry feeling very happy, like I was being protected by him. I'm nothing but grateful to Baron for making me feel such happiness. 2 weeks after Vera's phone call, when I visited our parents' house with my husband as promised, there were Vera in full makeup and Kelvin with a pained expression. There was also a baby in a crib, and he was indeed cute. Since my mother said she would watch the baby, we sat down facing each other on the living room sofa set to talk. Nice to meet you, I'm Nicole's sister Vera. Nice to meet you, I'm Baron. Baron is here as my husband, but his posture is completely that of a lawyer. He's wearing his lawyer's badge on his suit and maintaining a pleasant smile. So you're a lawyer? Vera gazes up at Baron with her trademark upward glance, but Baron's expression doesn't change. When did you marry Nicole? She never tells me anything. Last month. So it's been more than half a year since her divorce. Yes, there's no problem with that. Did you know that she was divorced? While Kelvin was making a bitter face next to her, Vera kept talking like this to Baron. Did she think I was hiding my divorce history from Baron? Nicole, you brought a celebration gift, right? Thank you. Perhaps because things weren't going as she planned, Vera turned to me. That must have been her purpose from the start anyway. Yes, here you go. I took an envelope out of my bag, placed it on the table, and slid it toward Vera and Kelvin. Vera quickly picked it up and checked inside. What is this? She groaned as she took out what was inside. Of course she would react that way since she was expecting money. What was in the envelope was paperwork for damage claims against both Vera and Kelvin. As written there, I'm claiming damages from both of you. What are you saying after all this time? Vera raised her voice at my words. The statute of limitations for claiming damages from an affair partner is 3 years. It's still perfectly valid. When I first consulted with Baron at the law firm, he explained about this statute of limitations, and I thought I still had plenty of time. Since I had a 3-year window, I decided to make the claim at an appropriate time. If no good opportunity arose, I could always make the claim before the statute of limitations expired. So I didn't feel any need to rush. Claiming damages is my right. I demanded $10,000 from each of them. Since Vera apparently quit her job, Kelvin might end up paying $20,000, but I don't care about the details at this point. The main question is whether Kelvin will pay Vera's share. Oh, I get it. You're just bitter that Kelvin left you, aren't you? Well, should I give Kelvin back to you? Then you wouldn't care about damages anymore, right? Vera, what are you saying? While even Kelvin couldn't stay quiet when Vera started saying nonsense, Vera didn't even glance at him. The damages claim is for your adultery, so it won't go away. When I stated this firmly, Vera's mouth twisted uglily. Then give me your husband instead. And now she says something like that. What about Kelvin? I said I'd give him back to you, didn't I? It's not fair that you married a lawyer and are attacking me. Let's swap husbands. Then I'll pay the damages. Although she should understand that what she's saying is completely unreasonable by any normal standards, Vera is probably caught up in the moment and saying this seriously. In the end, she just wants to take what's mine and feels superior. That's her highest priority, so even if it's strange by normal standards, it's the most important thing for Vera, and being excited right now, she's especially not noticing how odd her statements are. Baron, you're not really married to Nicole, are you? Because you're so handsome, and I'm sure you're very popular. Vera is gazing up at Baron with her signature upward glance. From her past experiences, she probably thinks men will fall for that. I was the one who proposed to Nicole. Because Nicole is so beautiful, isn't she? Both in appearance and heart. Huh? Vera responded shortly in a low voice to Baron, who had stated this without breaking his smile. Her upward glance disappeared. She looked dumbfounded, but Baron remained smiling silently as if waiting for Vera's rebuttal. Since Vera had gone quiet, I thought I should take this chance to deliver the final blow. With that in mind, I took another envelope out of my bag and spread its contents out on the table. Vera caught her breath, and Kelvin muttered softly, "What is this?" On the table were many photographs. All of them were intimate two-shot photos of Vera with men. There were 7 different men in total. Of course, none of them was Kelvin. As you can see, Vera was dating various men simultaneously both before and after marrying Kelvin. Vera, what's the meaning of this? Jarred by my words, Kelvin grabbed Vera's shoulders and confronted her. That hurts. Stop it. I'm asking you what this means. I said it hurts. Vera, whose shoulder was grabbed, scratched Kelvin's arm with her long nails. Kelvin probably hadn't seen this side of Vera before. He's holding his scratched wound with a surprised expression. From my perspective, this is still just the beginning with Vera. You don't mess with me. How dare you harm me after pulling something like this? Kelvin, who seemed to have snapped, pushed Vera away, and she fell back forcefully onto the sofa. I was a bit surprised too, as I had never seen this violent side of Kelvin. It's a side of Kelvin he never showed when dating me. Well, it's probably a side I never needed to see anyway. Ouch. This is the worst. How dare you use violence against a woman? I'm going to sue you. That's my line. How can you act like this in this situation? Don't touch me. Domestic violence criminal. Shut up. While the two of them were grabbing at each other and screaming, I stood up. I had no desire to watch their ugly fight. Besides, if this continues to heat up, the damage will only get worse. Vera will start rampaging from here. She'll throw things indiscriminately and swing her arms and legs wildly, hitting and kicking. Maybe Kelvin will get even more violent too. In that case, it's better to leave this place. I don't want to get caught up in it, and I've accomplished everything I needed to do here today. Are we done? Baron also stood up, and we left the living room. Vera and Kelvin were still yelling at each other. There's nothing else to do here. You're right. Thank you for coming with me. When I thanked him, Baron showed his teeth in a grin. I love this genuine smile of his. Let's go home. Baron reached out his hand. I took his hand, and we headed home, matching our pace. After divorcing Kelvin, when I decided to claim damages from both of them, I hired a private investigator to investigate Vera's behavior. I mainly had them trace Vera's relationships with men before my divorce, and although not directly related to my divorce, I also had them investigate her ongoing relationships with men. I thought I should do whatever I could to crush Vera and make her never want to get involved with me again. Considering Vera's past behavior, it was impossible that she would seriously date Kelvin, who she just wanted to take from me, so I had them investigate just in case, and as expected, or whatever you might call it, in just 3 days of investigation, they confirmed relationships with 3 men. I occasionally requested similar investigations afterward, and they consistently produced results, ultimately confirming relationships with 7 men. Some relationships had continued from before her marriage, while others started after marriage. According to the investigator, if we're talking about men she had relationships with, there were probably many more. That's how promiscuous she apparently was. I sent documents summarizing the facts of the affairs along with photos to the homes of those among these men who were married. I want Vera to take proper responsibility as an adult. Regarding my damages claim as well, I included a note stating that I have evidence ready so they can't deny the affair, so they probably won't fight unnecessarily. I had recorded the conversation from when Vera and Kelvin's affair was revealed. I had to do that because otherwise, Vera would try to escape with lies again. When you've experienced the same thing many times, you eventually learn the pattern. This time especially, I was angry, so I took such measures. Because I had sworn in my heart never to forgive either Vera or Kelvin. In the damages claim documents for Vera, I included a statement that if she tries to get involved with me again, I would consider pressing criminal charges for defamation and damage to reputation. No more holding back. That was my declaration of intent. Sometime after that, both Vera and Kelvin's damages payments were deposited into my account. As for Vera, it seems she was also claimed damages by several wives of the men she had relationships with, and she somehow managed to deal with it through her parents covering for her and various other arrangements. Our parents apparently decided they could no longer let Vera run wild, so they're keeping her and her child at their house, watching her strictly, and making her work both as a medical clerk at a local private clinic and part-time at a supermarket. They're collecting most of her income as repayment, and Vera is spending almost all her time on work and childcare. By the way, regarding Vera's child, genetic testing apparently revealed no parent-child relationship with Kelvin, and Kelvin, betrayed by Vera and learning that his beloved son wasn't his, divorced Vera in despair. At work, he became known as the worst kind of fool who switched from his wife to her sister only to end up raising another man's child, and from these shocks, I heard from a former colleague that Kelvin became mentally ill and resigned. He's now unable to work as a doctor and is struggling with low-wage part-time jobs to make a living. In any case, it's no longer any of my concern. Vera and Kelvin can live remembering what they did and regretting it. It might not be a kind thought, but it's all I can think. As for me, after marrying Baron, I took my time job hunting and secured a position as a nurse at a hospital with good conditions. I had been working casually at a private clinic a few days a week until then, but thinking I should earn properly for the future, I took my time with a careful job search, and thanks to that, I'm able to work under satisfying conditions. With no more involvement with Vera and the peace of mind from being able to cut ties with her, every day has been fulfilling. Not just in terms of work, but I'm also living a fun and relaxed life with Baron. And just as we were starting to think positively about having children, I found out I was pregnant. Baron bought mountains of magazines about pregnancy and childcare and read them all. He's likely to become more knowledgeable than me, the pregnant one. Just the other day, I laughed when he finally bought a thick dictionary-like book for naming babies. I think it's really happiness to be able to spend every day smiling like this. I want to keep smiling like this forever. Surely, even happier and more enjoyable days are waiting ahead.